Good afternoon, dear friends. This is Ruslan Belov. Yesterday, Zelensky spoke and said a lot of interesting things. It turns out that the armed forces of Ukraine in Kursk Oblast are proceeding according to plan, completing the tasks they are supposed to complete. But what amused me even more was that apparently Ukraine has defeated everyone in Saudi Arabia. That's what Zelensky said. He even said more than that. He said that everyone knows Ukraine has won in Saudi Arabia. That is, it wasn't that they were pressured into a complete ceasefire, but rather that they pressured everyone else. Well, all right. We continue to analyze the situation on the front. Let's open the map. So friends, we'll talk about the situation in Kursk Oblast, but we'll also touch on other sections of the front. Although the main events are currently happening in Kursk Oblast, and many are interested in them for obvious reasons, there is also movement on other parts of the front. But let's start with Kursk Oblast. So what happened there yesterday? Several events took place. First, the movement westward from Zaporizhzhia continued. I'm referring to this specific area, the regions of Rubanshchina and Gogolevka. Rubanshchina has been completely cleared. Even Ukrainian maps acknowledge this. Rubanshchina was fully cleared, and the Ministry of Defense has already reported the capture of the village. Gogolevka has also been taken under control. However, on the western outskirts of the village, there is still activity by the AFU. Additionally, fighting continued yesterday in the area of the village of Oleshnya. Although it's marked as under AFU control, in reality, the AFU no longer control the village. It's a grey zone. It's a similar situation to Shevchenko on the Pokrovsk direction, where both AFU assault groups and Russian assault groups can enter the village, but no one has full control. Nevertheless, panic is visible among the AFU ranks, as they are even changing into civilian clothes in an attempt to escape the encirclement. For example, a video appeared online yesterday showing the capture of an AFU soldier who had changed clothes and tried to escape but failed. Similarly, an entire group of AFU soldiers in this area failed to escape. You can see here, this is the Velikoi Tract. Marines also intercepted a whole group of AFU here. The group tried to bypass the Marines through the forest belts and reach Sumy Oblast but was caught. In the end, they had to say a lot of interesting things on video. As for Gayev, some overly enthusiastic individuals have already declared the village liberated in Telegram channels. But no, the village is still under AFU control. Yes, there is progress. Specifically, they managed to enter Guyev from the north and take control of the outer streets. In particular, the area around the water tower, as well as Sovetskaya and Kolkhoznaya streets, has been taken. Overall, the Russian armed forces previously worked on Guyev with artillery, but here, unlike in other areas, the AFU are trying to show something resembling coordinated defense. It seems they've pulled themselves together. However, this is unlikely to help them much. The AFU fully control two villages, though not entirely, as Guyev is no longer fully under their control. In terms of territory, the AFU control less than 60 square kilometers. But believe me, the most interesting part is yet to come. It's no coincidence that Zelensky started panicking yesterday, claiming that Russian troops are amassing forces for a strike on Sumy Oblast. As I told you at the very beginning, Zelensky yesterday firstly stated that everything is going according to plan, and the AFU in Kursk Oblast are completing all assigned tasks. Well, fine. If their task is to surrender or die, so be it. But Zelensky also claimed that the Russian army is accumulating resources, preparing to strike Sumy Oblast. Well, I'll tell you this. It's not far from the truth. I've been telling you this for the third day in a row. Yes, for now the main forces are focused on the final clearing of the remaining occupied territories. At the same time, everyone understands perfectly well what will happen after Kursk Oblast is fully liberated. That's why the Kiev authorities have announced mandatory evacuation in the border areas of Sumy Oblast. And that's why all this talk about an imminent ceasefire is complete nonsense. Putin asked Gerasimov to create a security zone here, and the troops are actively preparing for this. At the same time, an offensive is already underway in Sumy Oblast. Yes, it's not full-scale or very active, but it's happening. The most active actions are currently taking place in the Barsovka area. The village has not yet been taken under control, although there were reports of its capture. But no, fighting is still ongoing. However, the overall depth of the breakthrough into Sumy Oblast at this moment is 6 kilometers, and the total area of the bridgehead is almost 40 square kilometers. It's important to understand that all this has been achieved with very limited, very small forces. However, a full-scale offensive with large formations is expected here fairly soon. Then we'll see what results are achieved. Because at the moment, the Russian army controls 2 villages in Sumy Oblast, Novenkaya and Zhuravka. Plus, fighting is currently ongoing for Barsovka. Now, let's talk about other sections of the front. Let's start with the south, in Zaporizhzhia Oblast. Here, Pyatikhatki has been completely taken and cleared. There was even a video with a flag, which serves as additional confirmation. Moreover, troops have advanced eastward into Mali-Shcherbaki, although other Russian sources claim that not only Mali-Shcherbaki, but also the regular Shcherbaki have been entered. However, I don't have confirmation of this information yet, so let's limit ourselves to what we know for sure. We know for sure that troops have entered Mali-Shcherbaki and fighting is currently ongoing there. How important is this advance? I'll tell you, it's very important. Without exaggeration, because if both these villages come under control, this road will be completely cut off. That's one thing. Additionally, an offensive can be launched from here toward the city of Orikhiv. Capturing these villages is part of an operation to encircle Orikhiv from the west. That is, not frontal assault actions, but an encirclement from 2 sides, specifically here from the western side. In general, we'll keep watching. There hasn't been such activity here for a long time. If we move to the south of Donbas, here the troops managed to break through the AFU defenses and enter the village of Volnopol. Fierce fighting is currently ongoing there. Moreover, as you can see on the map, progress is also being recorded here in the fields between Volnopol and Shevchenko. Thus, in the very near future, fighting for Shevchenko itself is possible, and beyond it lies the last line of defense. Breaking through it, the army will reach open operational space for almost 20 kilometers without any fortifications. The AFU command understands this perfectly well, which is why they are sending reserves here. Additionally, according to reports from the Ukrainian side, fighting has intensified in this area. This stretches from Kotlyarivka to Troitske. In both places, Russian troops are now striving to break through the defenses to reach the border with Dnipropetrovsk Oblast. Moreover, assault actions are taking place daily, including with the use of armored vehicles. However, there have been no significant successes here so far. The fighting is very heavy, just as heavy as the fighting on the Pokrovsk direction. Here, the armed forces of Ukraine continue to attack in the Shevchenko area. As you can see, most of the village is currently under their control. But Russian troops retain control over the southern part of the village. This is a real meat grinder. Very heavy fighting. This is the Tourett area. As you can see on the map, these are the sections where the AFU broke through. Most of the city still remains under Russian control, but the AFU continue to counterattack here. Although, by the way, it's worth noting that they have been counterattacking for over a month. Almost a month and a half of AFU counterattacks in the Tourett area. And what have they achieved? As you can see, they haven't recaptured the city, not even half of it. They simply break through in some areas, where they are then hit by fire, hit by FABs. Well, that's about it. At the same time, the Russian army has become more active on the eastern flank, managing to regain control over Krimske and also take control of the village of Dakhne. Thus, at the moment, the eastern flank of Touretsk is, well, more or less stable, so to speak. Well, that's all for today on the situation at the front. In general, I wish you a good weekend. Rest well, take care of yourselves, and I'll be waiting for you on our channel.